Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report. Good to have everybody back listening to us this week. In today's podcast, we're going to take a look at our first segment and review the game that we just had against Southern Mississippi. In our second segment, we're going to talk about our offensive, defensive, and freshman standout players of the game. In our third and final segment of the day, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Ole Miss Rebels. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, it's great to be back for another edition of the DC Capstone Report. In this first segment, we're going to take a look back at the game that just took place against the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. The Golden Eagles came into Bryant-Denny Stadium this past Saturday, a pleasant day for football. Wasn't too hot when he started. It got hotter in the day, but they came in with the idea of trying to spread out the defense, trying to make some mistakes and get an open space with their athletic receivers and take advantage of their fast, quick passing game. But Alabama did a really admirable job defensively all day. We held them to less than 300 yards total offense. I thought our defense played really well. We had spurts where we had some issues, but overall I thought we did really good. In looking at the offense, we came out, and I think in this game played really well offensively. I think we threw the ball well, especially to our wide receivers. We got them in space. They did a really good job of being open in space and taking some advantage of the matchups that were given us. And I believe that we ran the ball better in this game as well. So overall, I think it was a very good game. If you kind of look at what Southern Miss tried to do for us, they tried to take the South Carolina model of how to attack our young defense and spread our defense out on the field. So that's something I think a lot of teams are going to try to do this year as we play them. We have a young defense, and after some injuries, it could be that our defense is getting even younger with less experience. But this past game, Terrell Lewis was held out. He had a injury that kind of tweaked his knee in the game before, and so he was held out in practice last week, and he didn't play. Then in the game, DJ Dale got injured and had to go out of the game. He didn't return, and he may not be ready for this game as we come up this coming week as well. And then also on defense, LeBron Ray had gone out, had an injury that required surgery. So we started in his place a true freshman, Justin Iborgby, out of Forest Park, Georgia. He'd been limited in some of his early games because of an injury had taken place, but he was able to start this game and was very effective, I think, on the defensive side of the ball. Also, Christian Harris, the linebacker that kind of got replaced by Ali Cahoe in the game against South Carolina, he came back, must have really had a good practice, got his head back on him straight, and did a really good job. I think Southern Miss tried to isolate Shane Lee or Christian Harris and get them on a wide receiver out of the backfield a couple of times, and one time they had that play on that Shane Lee kind of got beat on a fast wide receiver out of the backfield, but the quarterback was unable to hit him. He overthrew the ball, so it really didn't get burnt that way that they tried to do. So overall, the defense, I think our linebackers played well. Our safeties and cornerbacks did a good job of hitting and tackling in space. And our defensive line was able to put some pressure on the quarterback to disrupt his throws. On the offensive side of the ball, Tua came out doing really good, running the RPO game. Was able to hit some deep passes, some quick slants. So he worked in some intermediate routes as well. He was able to get Henry Ruggs into the game early, and he used his speed to really take advantage of the secondary there of Southern Miss. He also was able to get Devontae Smith into the game. Jerry Jeudy, maybe they were kind of watching for him, kind of scheming for him to try to get their best defensive player on him and cover him with two defensive players on most occasions. So he had some catches and did a really good job catching touchdown passes, but didn't get open in space as much as the other receivers. Jalen Waddle did a good job as well. I think Najee Harris did really good in the running game. When we handed the ball, looked like we had some dedicated running plays in this game, and we did a good job of course, having over 500 yards rushing. Didn't have to play our starters as much in the fourth quarter. Like the game was well in hand, and just did a good job overall of putting the Southern Miss Golden Eagles away. I thought it was a really good game to see how it could be try to be exploited on our defense with some fast receivers. I know that Southern Miss is not in the SEC, but they have some very athletic returners. Number 2 on their team was an athletic wide receiver who also returned kicks and punts. He had some punts return for touchdown and kickoff return for touchdown. Really, they tried to get him in open space, and I think Alabama did a good job containing him. Jalen Moody and Henry Ruggs did a really good job on special teams kickoffs, making plays so that he didn't get to take advantage of that. So I was really impressed with the way we were able to match their speed and athleticism and do such a good job. Other injuries in the game of note, we talked about Terrell Lewis and DJ Dale getting nicked up, but the other major injury of note in the game against Southern Miss had to be Will Reichard. I believe Will Reichard hit a tee, kicked the tee instead of the ball at one point, and it really extended his hip flexor muscle. He went to the locker room immediately, and he did not return to the game. So it looks like he's out for a little while. That's an injury that kickers you really have to manage and make sure that they're well before they come back and try to kick, because it could be a long-term injury for kickers if you don't get it back too early. So look, Joseph Bulovas came in. He did a fair job kicking off. And he did a good job of making every extra point that he had opportunity to kick, hit him solid, hit him good. So I think he has confidence going in this. He was our kicker last year, so I look for him to fill in for Will Reichard. Still not happy about our punting game. I think we're still lacking in punting. I wouldn't be surprised since Reichard's not able to kick. If DeLong can't get the punting down, we see that Alabama going for it on fourth down and manageable when it's fourth down and 3 yards or less. Going forward. But overall, in the game against Southern Miss, very pleased with the outcome, pleased with the victory, pleased with an overall performance I thought was solid on defense, solid on offense, and look forward to seeing how we use this game as a stepping stone to even get better when we get into SEC play again this coming week against Ole Miss. Well, here in the second segment, we're going to always like to concentrate on our standout players of the game. And I think I want to go right to the offense. Pick 3 this week because I couldn't narrow it down just to 2. Had so many players doing so well, and we could have named a bunch. Tua did a great job and he had more touchdown passes than he had incompletions in this game. So he could have been one of my standout players, but he's been in the past. So I narrowed it down to 3 players I thought really were standouts this game. Number 1 had to be Henry Ruggs. If you watch Henry Ruggs, he played a great game running the ball. I'm talking about after catch, yards after catch. When he caught the ball on that slant, he was running away from everyone. It was a touchdown. You could see it from the very beginning. But he had another deep pass that he hit him on. And when they hit him on that deep pass, the ball was a little underthrown. He had to wait for it. He was able to turn around, backpedal, and then still outrun the defender all the way to the end zone. So I just thought Henry Ruggs showed his speed, his speed in this game was just at the forefront. I think he showcased that, and there's not anybody I think can keep up with him in any of the games that we've been in so far. So I just think Henry Ruggs is a standout player on offense, and he also did a great job on special teams, covering as a gunner on the outside kickoffs and containing their fast runner on kickoff returns as well. So Henry Ruggs is an offensive standout player for the game against Southern Miss. Number 2 has to be Najee Harris. I think Najee Harris had his first 100-yard game of the year. I think he had over 114 yards, 115 yards rushing. He did really good. He ran with purpose. He ran with toughness. I think he did a better job of hitting the holes and following his blockers in this game. And just overall, I thought he did a really good job. Looked like they got some dedicated running plays for him in this game, not just RPOs. But the good thing in this game, I thought, was that he was able to run off RPOs and he was able to run off those dedicated running plays that they had listed for him. And thought he did a really good job whenever, no matter who was in the game, whether it was Tua or Slade Bolden on the Wildcat or Mac Jones handing the ball off. I think he just did a really good job of when he got the ball and getting out in the open, running tough and sticking his head in there, and then getting the extra yards when he needed it. So Najee Harris is an offensive standout. Can't go off the offense without talking about one offensive lineman, which I thought just played a superb game. I mean, I watched Jedrick Wills, the offensive tackle in this game, just destroy the guy in front of him several times. I watched him use one hand to fend off rushers. I watched him to get two players at a time when he was on a running play. Watched him pull and be the pulling tackle on certain plays. And just overall, I think he had his best game ever. And right now, I've always said it was between him and Leatherwood, but I think right now Jedrick Wills is the best player on the offensive line. So I think he was a standout player on offense. Running behind him and the pass blocking, I thought he did just a fantastic job. On defense, two players I thought stood out in this game were upperclassmen Anthony Jennings and Xavier McKinney. I think they did a great job. They were the leading tacklers for this game. Anthony Jennings set the edge many times. He didn't let them get outside and kept the containment. He didn't fall for a lot of the trickery plays or the misdirection plays. And those don't show up on the stat sheet, but he was able to set contain on the outside that allowed other people to tackle in space. So I thought he did a great job, but he also got pressure on the quarterback. He was a good run stopper as well when they ran to his side, and just thought when he had a chance to help the others, he helped. One of the things I think that you see his leadership role, he's helping those players around him. So I think the young people are kind of leaning on him. And also, too, the second player, Xavier McKinney, I think they're also leaning on him, and he's able to help them. Very hard-nosed, hard hitter, coming up from the safety or the money position, sticking his head in there and making those stops and tackling out in space. I thought he did a really good job in this game of coverage when his opportunity. When at some points he was in man-on-man coverage because of the five wide receivers that were going out in pass plays, and he was able to help to get the young players and inexperienced players in the good position to make plays as well. So not only did Anthony Jennings and Xavier McKinney were standout defensive players, I think their leadership that they bring to this young defense is very important, and I think that they've done a good job. Our freshman standout this week has to be Justin Boyke, the number 92, the freshman lineman who came in and started in place of LeBron Ray. I thought he did just an excellent job of setting contain on his side, being able to run block and stuff to run, and also wasn't fooled on some of the misdirection plays. So I think Justin Boyke is my freshman player of the game. So the players of the game on offense again are Najee Harris, Henry Ruggs III, and Jedrick Wills. On defense, Anthony Jennings and Xavier McKinney. And the freshman standout of the week is number 92, Justin Boyke. Well, in our third segment here, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Ole Miss Rebels. Well, we're getting back into SEC play in the SEC West. Just getting back into playing for the West here, and we're going up against a 2-2 Ole Miss team, coming off a heartbreaking loss to Pac-12 California on the last play of the game. I know they're going to be just writhing from that. The time ran out on them, and it was a controversial call on whether or not they got in to the end zone and didn't stop the clock to review it. So they didn't make it in on the last down as time ran out. So they lost that game to Cal, and I know they're going to be stinging from that loss. The quarterback's a little dinged up. He's day-to-day, so not sure if he'll be able to play in this game. I look for him to, because against Alabama, you're going to come in and play your best. And so I think what Ole Miss brings is that they're coming in licking their wounds. That we have a chance to be a trap game for us, to catch us in looking ahead to our off week next week, trying to get better and trying to rest some of our players that are injured. But I don't think we need to fall for that. I think we need to come out. If you look at any team who's had success against Alabama in the last 10 years, that team has to be Ole Miss. They've had the most success. Granted, though, it was when Hugh Freeze was their coach. They beat us 2 times. Once there and once here, and since that time, that we've been able to really beat them handily, especially here in Bryant-Denny. But I really believe that this has a tendency, that Alabama is not up for this game, has a tendency to be a problem for Alabama. The reason I say that is this: Ole Miss comes in with quality personnel. They come in with athletic defense. Probably it's going to be arguably the best defense we've seen since this year so far. And so I think we're going to have to improve. We're going to have to step up our game and realize that we're playing against athletic players who want to make a name for themselves and they want to beat Alabama. And I think that's the message that they're putting in Ole Miss's head. is, hey, we're 2-2, but we can make our season if we go into Bryant-Denny Stadium and beat Alabama. Can they do it? Well, Alabama will have to come out flat and have a poor game and have some turnovers and that sort of thing for I think to give Mississippi the chance. But all things are possible when you come to playing against an SEC West foe. What do I think is going to happen? I think Ole Miss is going to come in. I think Alabama is going to go out. And if Alabama goes out and plays with toughness and discipline, I think they're really going to have a good game against Ole Miss and have the chance to break this thing wide open early. And the reason I say that is Alabama has, in my opinion, gotten better each game. And I look for them to get better and to clean up some of the mistakes they made in the last game going against a SEC West foe in Ole Miss. And, the last game we had, 2 games ago in South Carolina, we had a lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties. In the game against Southern Miss, we cleaned that up. I think we had just 1 penalty in that game. So we've had a tendency to make some changes and make some adjustments and improve. Well, we've got some things we can improve. I think our running game can improve. Our defense can improve to not have the lapses that we've had getting out of position on defense that we've had the last game. And we can improve by getting more turnovers, I think, as well. I think we can create some turnovers in this Ole Miss game. So I look for Alabama to come out and try to establish the run game early on and some quick passing games. I really believe that Ole Miss, if they watch Alabama on film, is going to try to take away the slant. That seems to be the bread and butter for Alabama. It looks like that either Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, or Jerry Jeudy or Jalen Waddle, when they hit a slant, they can take it to the house. It could turn a 2-yard pass into a 70-yard touchdown. So I believe that Ole Miss, with some athletic play, some bump and run on the outside, has a chance to try to take away that slant. Well, when they do that, if they do that, I look for Alabama to hit them deep over the top. And I really believe that there's an opportunity in this game to get some deep balls thrown. So look for Jerry Jeudy and the other wide receivers, Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, to be running wide open down the field when the Ole Miss tries to come up and stop the slant. Tua has got to play a good game in this and be mistake-free. He's done that. He's has thrown last game more touchdowns than he did incompletions. If he continues on, then I don't see any reason that this offense can't be productive against Ole Miss. On the defensive side of the ball, I think Ole Miss is going to have to come in. They're going to try to get Alabama in some positions to stop the run and to make them have to throw the ball. And when they do that, they're going to try to pressure the quarterback. I think Ole Miss prides themselves on being able to get to the quarterback, and I don't think they've been able to show that in the last couple of games. So I think they're going to have an emphasis on that. So look for them to try to take away the slant and try to pressure the quarterback, to pressure us into making the mistakes. I think Tua has not been pressured very often, and when he has been, he's made the right decision. So I think Ole Miss is going to try to up the heat on him in this game. Now, I think Alabama on defense is going to come in with this young defensive front. Possibly D.J. Dale may not be able to be in this play in this game, and Terrell Lewis depends on whether they're limited. If neither one of those get to play in this game, then we're going to really have a young, inexperienced defense on the field against Ole Miss. I think South Carolina's kind of gave the game plan on how to attack that, and Southern Miss didn't do a good job of it. But I think Ole Miss might try to put their wide receivers out in space, have some misdirection plays, opportunities for our young linebackers to get lost on some of these plays and try to bust a big play, either a running play or bust a big passing play over the middle. I look for our defense to do a good job. I think we've improved every game, and I really look for that to happen in this game. Now, the wild card in this is how will our running game be in this game? One thing that all of your listeners out there know, Deontay Brown, one of our linemen, who's been very instrumental in our running game blocking, has been out. He had to serve a 6-game suspension by the NCAA. Well, his suspension is over. Well, in Coach Saban's press conference, he said that he was not entitled to start, but he could work his way back to start. So if Deontay Brown has done what he's supposed to do on and off the field, if he's got himself in shape and he's able to play and in practicing this week well, then I look for him to get a chance to come in and shore up that offensive line. And if we do, I think it makes a huge difference in this game, but mainly going forward to some other games down the road. And if we're looking down the road at Texas A&M or LSU or Auburn, teams are going to try to crowd the box and stop our running game. I think Deontay Brown being able to come in and show in this game that he's in shape and ready to play and has an opportunity to get back in and win his job back, I think that makes a difference in our offensive line and really ups our running game. So watching this game, one thing I want all of our listeners out here to watch is to watch if Deontay Brown gets in the game, and if he does, is he effective? Is he in shape? Is he ready? Is he doing those things that Coach Saban says that he needs to do to win his job back? And if he does, I think that bodes well for Alabama down the road. Well, before we leave today, just a little bit of history. In this game, Ole Miss is going to bring in, as their offensive coordinator when he comes here, Coach Rich Rodriguez. Now, many of our listeners might know this, but at one point, Alabama was looking for a head coach. And all eyes was on West Virginia and Rich Rodriguez, who had the offense that everybody wanted. He was the head coach at the time. He was the head coach of the day, if you will. And Alabama went after him hard, and it was all the way down to the wire where he had been offered the head coaching job, and it was felt like he accepted it. But he went back to West Virginia, and when he went back to West Virginia, they convinced him to stay, and he called back and said, "I won't take the job." So we had a press conference all ready to go to announce him as head coach, and it ended up announcing that he had turned down the job to come as the head coach at the University of Alabama. Well, many of you out there know the rest of the story. Our Mal Moore decided that he had to make a big splash after somebody had turned him down, after a West Virginia coach had turned him down, and he went and made one run at a head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Nick Saban, and Nick Saban became the coach instead of Rich Rodriguez. Little bit of history as Rich Rodriguez comes back to Alabama in the Bryant-Denny Stadium. It looks like we've got the better end of the deal. Nick Saban comes, and we've got 6 championships later, and such a great program. Rich Rodriguez has kind of been all over the country in head coaching jobs, and now is the offensive coordinator at Mississippi. Well, look forward to another great game this week. If you're out there watching us, listening to us on podcasts, please check us out. Like us on Facebook. Check out Lance's other pages like RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com for some great pictures and things of the games. And as always, if you're a $1 Million Band fan, if you're a $1 Million Band mom or dad and you want to see your child play in the band, we're going to show live from the game, the pregame festivities with the band playing, and also the halftime. We live feed those on our Facebook stream, our DC Capstone Report page. So if you'd like to see that during this game, just like us and you'll get a notification when we go live from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Well, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report. Until next time, roll tide.